because he's afraid that they're going to pull him in. That is not the plan. They don't plan on pulling him in. They're hoping to give him no other option but to come in. Again, we want to remind everybody that this is not just a guy who's climbing a building. He has closed off 56th Street. He's closed off 5th Avenue to traffic at rush hour. So he is causing an enormous problem for people in the city as he tries to ascend this building for reasons we do not know yet. So that's the situation right there. They're trying to break out a window above him. If they do, that glass will fall all over him. Yep. But that's the idea, to make sure that he doesn't have a path to keep going higher up on the building. And you see the scaffolding there. If he tries to make his move to the left, he will see that scaffolding as well. So that's the situation right now. It's coming to a head, it looks like.
Yeah, it certainly is, Jim. Well, again, we know that this guy his name is apparently Steve. He's from Virginia, and at some point he dropped a laptop computer when he first started climbing from the subroof garden. He then had a notepad that he was briefly showing into the windows before dropping that too. So clearly that may have shown his motive in all of this, but at this point we still don't know what that motive is. But 5th Avenue again is shut down. There is gridlock in the area, and this is not the thing you want to have to happen.
No, and especially, and obviously the big story here is that this is the Trump Tower, a very famous building in Midtown Manhattan. Obviously it's causing big crunch for Midtown traffic at rush hour, but it is also, of course, owned by Donald Trump, and he is running for president, and that's why we are there covering the story. NJ Burkett is also on the ground. NJ, if you're there, this guy Steve from Virginia, Trump was in Virginia today, and just by chance, you happen to be talking to an eyewitness from Virginia earlier today.
Yeah, absolutely right. It is a bizarre series of coincidences, Bill, no question about it. But if I can set the scene for you here on the ground, and obviously we don't want to cut away from the scene that's unfolding on the side of Trump Tower, but you need to imagine a scene at 56th Street and Madison, which is where I am now, where the intersection is absolutely jammed with people. Police have converged on the area. They've roped it off. So there's a very strong police presence, literally hundreds of officers in this area who have sealed off 56th Street at Madison, and they've sealed off 5th Avenue across from Trump Tower. So, you know, as you would expect, we are in gridlock now in this portion of Midtown, of course, at the worst possible time, perhaps, for that to happen in New York City, which is, of course, the height of rush hour. But I'm here on the corner with, you know, in this sort of throng of people here, and I'm speaking now with Rex Parati, who's from Seattle, and Kat Newman, who's from Berlin, Germany. Both of them have been watching the scene unfold now here for, I guess, the better part of 2 hours, right, Rex?
Yeah, 2 hours.
So describe to me what it's been like watching this. You know, people have been watching at home, and they're seeing, you know, they're seeing this in one dimension, but you're seeing it in the full three dimensions.
Yeah.
What do you make of it?
Well, first off, it's impressive. Scaling a building for 2-3 hours, however long he's been up there, you know, it's incredibly ambitious. But, you know, it's a lot of energy on the street. You're worried for the guy, you know, if something happens with the suction cups. Yeah, and you just wonder, like, how the heck all this happened.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, from the witnesses that we have spoken to, Rex and Kat, he didn't say anything prior to simply throwing himself at the building and then climbing up the side. Kat, what do you make of it, Kat Newman?
Well, first of all, we didn't even know that he was still climbing. We thought at some point he was getting into a window, and then we left the scene, and when we came back, we actually still saw him climbing the building. So, yeah, we don't know if he still plans up going even further, if eventually he's gonna hopefully crawl into a window. It's just unbelievable. I've never seen anything quite like that.
Let's face it, you can't really take your eyes off it.
No, you can't. It's crazy, yeah. We've been watching for such a long time. We've moved from that one block to the other block because we thought he was moving around the building, and yeah, we just can't leave because we want to see what happens to him.
Yeah, well, and to see how the police are going to handle the situation, because, you know, obviously, Bill, and I know you're back watching this in the studio, I mean, it's a very, very delicate situation. You know, the police don't want to put themselves at risk. The supervisors don't want to put their officers at risk. Of course, there is some risk in what they're doing, but they've got to try to minimize the risk. And, of course, they want to try to save this guy because they don't really know what he's up to. They don't know what the plan is.
You're getting, AJ, you're cutting out a little bit. I think the
side of the building, Bill, but
sirens or whatever that machine is down there is cutting your audio out a little bit. It's getting a little hard to tell. I hear you. I will say this guy has been climbing for a couple hours, or an hour and 45 minutes. We've watched him for an hour and 40 minutes or so. He has stopped and had a sip of water, as from what I can tell, one time. We've seen him take one sip of water, so we know at least there's a water bottle inside there. As someone said, as Sade pointed out, it's going to get dark in about 2 hours. They'll bring lights in, but if this guy's in it for the long haul, you know, even great mountain climbers stop and have a protein bar sometime, or, you know, drink of water. He's had one drink of water in hour 45. Now, on the other hand, he's going to try to not consume too much water for obvious reasons, because he doesn't want to have to go relieve himself in the middle of that building. That is the window Jim Dolan was talking about. It appears they're trying to break out.
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to knock that out. So we'll probably see some shards of glass coming down at some point. Jim, I know you're there on standby. You know, cops have been talking with this guy, trying to get him down, actively negotiating with him. But as you've been saying, you know, they need to try to safely isolate him, but they don't want to do anything that goes too far that may put his life at risk.
Well, that's exactly right. The most important thing right now is to make sure nobody gets hurt, even him, of course, and that's what they are doing. They have had a couple of opportunities where they were close enough if they wanted to risk trying to pull him in, but that is not the plan. They are just trying to eliminate his options, which is what they're doing now with the scaffolding that you see off to the left, and by trying to, at least appears that they are trying to break out a window above him, although you have to believe that if they wanted to break out that window, that they may just be testing the strength of the glass right now, and that when they want to break it, they will break it. But that is about a floor and a half above where he is, maybe 2 full floors above where he is, and that's what they are trying to do now, just trying to eliminate his options. The scaffolding is moving with him now
the window,
up
very
the side
strongly,
of the
Jim.
building.
And this is a large window. This is not just one small pane.
I don't think it, to me it looks like they're not going to break it out. They're trying to use suction cups, much like he has, and try to get that window out without creating shards of glass, so that they can get to him.
Yeah, I can see it opening up now. Yeah, I see what you're saying. They do appear to be pulling it from inside rather than trying to break it.
Exactly.
You know,
They're doing that exactly.
There it goes.
There goes the glass right there. They have moved the window open, and that may be as far up the side of the building as they're going to let him go. He could still move off to the right, but he can't move off to the left. And if they open up a pane of glass like they just did there off to his right, that will eliminate any options he may have.
Still about 4 stories to go,
that's
Jim.
where they appear to have drawn their line. I'm sorry, Bill?
It still looks like there's at least 4 stories to go. So he's gone three stories since we've been on the air. This could be a long night.
But one of the advantages, Bill, is that this is such a large pane that they, you know, a couple of the NYPD units there could certainly try to grab him at that point. So clearly they have some advantage in their approach so far. Jim, and what else do you think?
It's not clear that they will try to grab him, Sade. Yeah, it's not clear that they will try to grab him, but they are trying to eliminate his options, and that is what they're doing. Well, again, we don't think he knows that there is a scaffolding off to his left that will block his exit in that direction. But you can see he knows now that window is open. They're talking to him, and he appears to again be moving laterally this time to his right.
If they wanted to really stop him that way, they could open all those windows the same way. And that would prevent him.
Yeah, and if you look off to the right slightly, Bill, Justin, yeah, see right there, you see that grate? That would be really as far as he could get, because they can open up that grate. They opened up one below that earlier today, and so they are really closing off his options now, making sure that he has no exit path and can't go further up the side of the building.
I wonder if we're going to see that little pane to the left of that officer's shoulder. See that little pane get removed too, and then if you remove the pane on the right of that, you really, at the corner, you really sort of block him from going anywhere. We will see, of course, as we're watching this.
Yeah, that's the way it looks.
You're watching a special edition of Eyewitness News at 6, the same as has been at Eyewitness News at 5 and most at 4. This young man, during the 4 o'clock hour, starting to ascend from the middle of the Trump Tower in Midtown Manhattan, 56th Street and 5th Avenue. That part of Midtown pretty much cordoned off and locked down now for traffic. But there are people gathered in the street. NJ Burkett is with them. Jim Dolan has been watching it from his camera. That's his camera you see right on the right of your screen. And we have a very good shot of this young man, clearly an experienced climber. As you see those suction cups, he's got 5 of them. He's using 4, each connected to a very brightly colored, I don't know whether it's nylon or what kind of material it is, but very strong because it's holding his weight. And he screws that cylinder on one side of the
one at a time.
One at a time.
It's kind of painstaking.
It's very strenuous. And he actually, what they do, I've been doing a little research on the web on this. These kinds of suction cups, when you tighten that, it actually pushes the air in, vacuum packs the air in there, and then he's got to slide it off when he's doing. Watch him. He will use that little device on the right, put it in, and then screw it. He's pumping it up right now, and then he'll tighten it up.
And then he just goes from there.
And it creates this very strong vacuum, enough to hold his weight, Sade.
Yeah, and he apparently started climbing from the subroof garden. We saw shots earlier of that area, and he began to make his way from there. He had a laptop computer, and it apparently fell at some point, and then he had a notepad that he was briefly showing into the window, trying to give people, I guess, the message of all of this. We still don't know what the point is to this climb, but even still, he is pressing on. This happened shortly after 4 o'clock, so we are now 2 hours into this cat and mouse game.
Who's the cat and who's the mouse at this point?
Right?
This is the big cat right now, and the bigger cats of the NYPD Elite ESU unit, Emergency Services Unit, trying to coax him in. He's had some conversation. He's a little far away from the up above him or below him to have a real conversation. Now it's very loud up there. When you get up there, they're removing another window, as you can see. So this guy is not going to be able to go very far. The little windows, I don't know if they're going to remove those windows or not. But
okay, Bill, we were just learning that Jim Dolan has some new information for us. Jim, what can you tell us?
Well, only this, Sade. You can see that they are now opening up other windows, using suction cups to open up other windows on the building, really blocking his exit. He is moving laterally right now, but they seem to have this. They seem to have his exit sealed. There is a plan, if they need to go to it, to lower emergency services workers by rope to him to pull him in, but they don't think they'll have to go to that. They think this is the way they will be able to get him in. He's moving laterally now, not fully aware that his path is really pretty well blocked. They now know how to open these windows without breaking them. They have figured that out. I don't know if you can see, Justin, yet the lighted windows to the right. You can see the workers are there, and that's what they're doing. They're applying the suction cups to pull that window open as well if they need to get to that window. But this is what's going on now. They're blocking his path, making it apparent to him that he has no strategy. They are talking to him, as you can see, out of that window. And Justin, if you could just pull over to where the emergency services workers are, they're talking to him right there. That's it. And he's right below that. You can see the climber right there. And they're talking to him, basically telling him, your options are running out here. You might as well just come in. And that's what they're hoping he does before anybody gets hurt.
Yeah, you can see him looking around. He's trying to decide, okay, what am I going to do next? Am I going to give up, or am I just going to keep climbing there to the left? But Jim, as you've been saying, you know, cops have been trying to talk him down, actively negotiating with him. But the whole key at this point, they want to try to safely isolate him. They want to make sure that they don't do anything that's going to put this climber's life at risk.
If you're, by the way, if you're going away,
or for any of their own workers, keep in mind that.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Bill. Just they also don't want to put any of their own workers' lives at risk. That's what he's doing right now by this stunt. He's putting emergency service workers, police officers who risk their lives for this city. He is putting their lives in danger as well as his own life, and that's what they're trying to minimize. Try to make sure nobody gets hurt here, not him, and not, of course, the police officers of this city.
Yeah, it's a very good point. These guys are putting their lives at risk. This guy has suction cups holding him on, which is risky enough, but those emergency service workers, as we saw in that other picture, a little wider shot, you know, they're not tethered into anything. Well, I take that back. That guy has a tether around him right now, but it's still putting their lives at risk, trying to get this young man out of there. He's taking off his backpack right now. If we could pull out a little bit.
Yeah, you see him taking off his backpack right now?
Probably getting out a drink of water. We've only seen one in the last hour and 40 minutes.
He's trying to grab something.
He's drinking water.
Oh, he's drinking water.
If you have to go, let me just say that you're watching Eyewitness News at 6. Any other news of the day? Did he just drop that bottle? He dropped the bottle, the water
He just
bottle
dropped
down.
the bottle, that's all.
Yep, he's got another one,
He's
but
got
there is
something
a landing, a subroof landing down below there. If you want to get the other news of the day, we'll have it on our website. And if you have to leave the house, no problem. Get on your phone and watch Facebook Live. We have it on our website right now, on our Facebook page. More than 110,000 of you are watching right now. We're going to stay with it until this thing.
And if you have to go, you certainly don't want to go anywhere near East 56th Street and Fifth Avenue because traffic is at a standstill there. You know, Fifth Avenue is shut down in the area, and we are told there is nothing but gridlock.
NJ Burkett is there at the scene of the ground as well for us with the bystanders who have gathered to watch all this. NJ?
Yeah, literally hundreds of people, Bill, watching this chess game unfold on the side of a New York City skyscraper, and that's really sort of what it is. It's just been extraordinary. People have stood here literally for 2 hours because they can't take their eyes off it. They're mesmerized simply by what's going on here. And I'm speaking here with Rex Parati. He's from Seattle. Kat Newman, she's from Berlin. And you've been here since the very beginning, Rex.
Yeah, we have been. When the police started showing up, we stopped and looked at it.
And initially, he held up some sort of a sign. I know you didn't see it.
No.
Other people in the crowd didn't see it. Bill, it's also worth noting that when they took that window out of the frame, a huge cheer erupted from the hundreds of people who were gathered out here on East 56th Street, pointing up, looking up, you know, anxious to know, was this going to be it? You know, were the officers going to rappel somehow down and pick him off the building, or what was going to happen? But obviously you can see that they're just sort of waiting for him to try to get up to where they are, and then perhaps they'll pull him in. But he keeps shifting to the left, shifting to the right, doing everything he can to avoid them. He's clearly determined to get up the side of the building. Police are clearly determined to stop him, and of course at some point it's going to come to an end. But what everyone here on the street is wondering is, when is that going to happen? I think people here thought it was going to happen an hour ago, or 2 hours ago, and it hasn't happened. That's sort of the point, Bill.
Well, they're not taking any chances, and they are not going to try. They're trying to coax him down and not try to force him down, but he may have nowhere to go. NJ Burkett on the ground for us. Thanks, NJ.
Well, right now we want to break away. We're going to keep this picture going, though. In the meantime, we want to go to Amy Freeze in for Lee Goldberg tonight to give us an idea of what we can expect in terms of weather tonight. But before you give us the picture for all of us, Amy, tell us about the weather that may impact this situation here. You said that rain is likely not to move in.
Right. While showers and thunderstorms are a threat for tonight across the area, looking at specifically Midtown Manhattan and East 56, not looking for a shower that's imminent. In fact, we've kind of zoomed in on the radar to show you just this block area, and this gives us an idea of what's happening in and around this particular area. And of course, no showers on this radar picture. We pull it out, we add the clouds to it. Certainly overcast and darkening skies, especially as we get closer and closer to sunset tonight. But much of the activity has been off to the east. The more severe storms that were earlier on Long Island have pushed off, but wow, what a display they left behind. We got some tweets coming in saying that rain came down so hard that residents who've lived there the whole lives haven't seen it rain that hard. We got this picture in from John Vies via Twitter. Thank you so much. You can kind of see also here in the background a wedge shape, a very large wedge shape in the background, potentially indicating that not only was there a funnel cloud, but if this touched the surface and brought up debris, could have been a tornado. So we'll wait on that. That would have been around the Bridgehampton area. It also went past the North Fork as well. Heat advisory goes until Saturday night at 8 p.m. For everybody else, it's all about the hot weather. Temperatures are still in the mid-80s in New York City. We've got temperatures near 90 for Newark, and that was their high today. Belmar had 90, Toms River 94, one of the hottest spots. And the heat index, that feels like temperature, has been also very serious. Watch this here on the Futurecast. You'll notice spots showing up, blue dots here on the map. This Futurecast telling us that there's a spotty chance for a shower. So if anything was to happen in Midtown, it would maybe be a spotty shower that doesn't last more than a few minutes. So a drenching downpour, something to really soak the area, doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon. Tomorrow afternoon, another chance of showers, widely scattered thunderstorms. That risk will be again in play on Friday afternoon. Saturday and Sunday are both days where we could see showers and thunderstorms. thunderstorms. So we're expecting 73 tonight. Tomorrow, temperatures will be in the 80s to near 90 degrees. The real field temperature will be 100. That is the pattern for the next several days. Hot and sticky, oppressive heat. Temperature at 94 on Saturday. That's the hottest we're expecting in the city. No cooling down early next week. Maybe we could drop back into the low 30s by Wednesday, but the humidity certainly does stick. That's a look at the forecast for now. Back to you guys in the breaking news.
Okay, thanks, Amy. This is pretty dramatic what's about to happen. This young man has no idea that there's a scaffolding. If we pull out a shot just a little bit, look at that. Around the corner, there's a window washing scaffolding right there. So he's not going anywhere, and he does not yet know it. The Trump organization just issuing this statement. This man performed a ridiculous and dangerous stunt. There is damage to the building, and he caused the unnecessary deployment of New York's finest to protect his safety and the safety of everyone in the building. He caused the shutdown of traffic on Fifth Avenue. I'm 100% certain that the NYPD has better things to do. If Mr. Trump were here, says the executive vice president of the Trump organization, he'd be thanking law enforcement for the job they are doing. And as you can see, that the members of the NYPD ESU, a couple stories up, have taken out one window. To their right, they've taken out another. They broke a window several floors down, and now you can see it. Are they talking to this young man or not? Jim Dolan's on the ground watching what we're watching as well. Jim, I don't think this guy knows that there's a window washing scaffolding, 10 feet away from him.
Yeah, he may have just become aware of that, Bill, because he just started a new conversation with the police who are above him. It appears what they're doing is the scaffolding is just below him and to the left. It appears that they're going to let him move off to the left if that's what he wants to do, but then they can move the scaffolding up, pull the scaffolding up, and the emergency service workers who are in that bucket can pull him safely into the scaffolding from that angle. It's just a matter of time, and it won't be a long time now before his exits are totally blocked and he's going to have to come in. But that appears to be what's going on at this hour.
It is just slow going. Look, we are now going beyond 2 hours now. This man slowly making his way up the Trump Towers, 58 floors high. And now he is on, what, the 19th, 20th floor, Jim?
About the bottom of the 20th floor, and I'm almost guessing here. We know he was on the 19th floor a short while ago. He moved up a little bit from that point, and he just saw the scaffolding, and that exit is now blocked. So we can see right now he is talking with the people, with the emergency service workers, the police officers in that scaffolding. He is seeing that he can't move laterally to his left. He can't move up above him, and he's trying to make a decision as to what is going to happen next and what he is going to do.
Yeah, he's pretty much pinned in at this point.
We don't know why this young man from...
Yeah, exactly right. And if he moves to his left, the emergency service workers in the scaffolding can pull him down safely. And that is, of course, what everybody wants. They just don't want anybody to get hurt here. Again, we've said this before, but these are police officers, emergency service workers who are risking their life for a guy who wants attention and is climbing this building. And that, we don't want anybody to get hurt. We don't want him to get hurt, of course. But the emergency service workers are out there literally hanging in this bucket, risking their lives because of this.
Yeah, Jim. Well, it appears that talking still isn't helping at all because he is still using one suction cup after another to make his way up. And again, it looks like he's trying to decide which way does he go. Now he's looking over to the left. Where we can see the ESU unit there and the scaffold there, but he is still making his way up, and cops, as we've been mentioning, have been trying to talk his way down, actively negotiating with him. They've been trying to get to him safely, but so far they're just so close, but they just can't get their hands on him.
There's just one pane of glass. There's one narrow pane of glass that he could continue to go up from, but again, he'll have to go right past emergency service workers, and you can see the people inside that window. That's on the 21st floor, by the way. We said that earlier. That window, emergency service workers are going to put out blankets so that he can safely get in if he chooses to do that. They are now coming out of the window, and it looks like they may be rappelling down to get him. And this is just a shame, right, that they have to do this. They have to risk their lives to get this guy and to protect public safety down below, and obviously also to get him into safety.
He just, it looked like, removed a piece of that furniture, that office furniture, that desk or whatever it is there on the bottom. to make room for him. That's a big guy on the left, the one on the left, and he made room by removing that. So this guy, we were playing cat and mouse game. We didn't know who the cat and who the mouse was, but now we do know. The mouse is sort of trapped between that window washing scaffolding on the bottom left, one floor below him. And even if he stays on that single panel, which apparently he's cordoned off his little universe there to that single panel, which seems to be about 2 feet wide. I'm surprised they haven't tried to get that out, but there does appear to be some sort of desk unit that he can't get to that window. I don't know, but that white board right there, it looks apparently like some sort of shelving unit with a light underneath it. So maybe a desk unit. They've removed part of that. Will that cop try to get him? You know, we talked to the retired detective sergeant, and he said on the phone, he said they did not think they would try to get him. It's just too risky. But it does look, as Jim says, Sade, that they're preparing to do something.
Yeah, they're certainly trying. And as you look into the scaffold on the left, it is really pretty much staying in position. So clearly they're having communications with the other NYPD emergency services unit crews that are hanging out of that window. So they're just trying to box him in at this point. It did look like, Bill, a few moments ago that those units there on that 21st floor were actually going to rappel down the building to try to grab him. Oh, now we just saw on the left that scaffolding is beginning to move up. It's inching its way up, and at some point they want to try to get to him and get him safely.
Or at least prevent him from going over. So he really can't go over there because he'll go right in the bucket. So as he goes up, they're going to move up with him concurrentently to get right at his feet so that he can't slide over and start doing that as well.
And now look what time it is. It's 6:26. This happened at 4 o'clock. So we're now stretching into 2.5 hours. This is something that has gone on for quite some time. He's got to be tired, no doubt.
We are, by the way, in about 2.5 minutes, make it 3.5 minutes, going to join World News with David Muir with the other day's news. We are going to continue to have this on our Facebook Live page, the actual culmination of this, whatever happens next. More than 150,000 of you are watching on Facebook Live as this drama takes place at Trump Tower 56 and Midtown.
And it looks like that they have something hanging from, it's almost like a hook. You wonder if he's giving up now. Is he going to reach out for that?
Or at least they're offering it to him. Let's see. We will watch along with you over the next 2 minutes and 50 seconds before we join World News.
They're trying to bring this to a close right now.
Well, they're offering it to him. Will he grab it or not? We'll find out soon. He does not appear to be grabbing that because he could have already. Yeah.
He's slowly making his way up. And that scaffolding is on his left-hand side. And above him, they've got that rope hanging down, hoping that he takes hold of it and bring this to an end.
Jim, are you watching this, Jim Dolan?
We are, Bill. They're definitely lowering some kind of harness to him or something that he can hook to the harness that he has. Whether he takes it or not is, of course, an open question. We'll see over the next couple of minutes. He is still ascending the building, but they have offered him this tether, this device to attach to the harness he's wearing. And again, he has few options here, but we'll see what he decides to do. Remember, if he continues to go up this pane of glass that he's on right now, he's got to go past that guy, that big police officer in the window who's dangling this, who's offering this tether to him. He's got to go up past him, and we'll see whether they try to pull him in. That is definitely not the preferred way to do this. On the other hand, they can't keep risking people's lives with him climbing this building.
He would have grabbed that already. As a program note, we are going to stay on this, ladies and gentlemen, and join World News when this is over. But we want to keep with this. He has every chance in the world to grab that rope that the ESU, a very large ESU officer, is holding for him, and he's not doing it. The big question now, if he goes up another 4 feet, is that guy going to try to grab him or not? That's very risky. NJ Burkett's on the ground as well.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is about the safety of this climber. That's why that they've been, very, very steadfast in making sure that they're not moving too quickly. Again, we're seeing this negotiation play out here. They're talking to this climber right now, whose name is apparently Steve from Virginia. This has now been 2.5 hours that he has been scaling the Trump Towers, this 50 58-story Trump Towers. He's now on the 21st, approaching the 22nd floor. We've heard from the Trump organization giving a statement saying that, you know, basically he's putting people's lives at risk.
We're just hearing ABC News confirming from a police source the climber is carrying leaflets. The police have a copy. They tell us the leaflets indicate this is about self-promotion. There is no nefarious intent with this young man. Once in custody, they say the charges will, in all